There's a lot of concepts in spirituality that have been around me my entire life. I grew up in a house with a Zen monk dad and a very, very spiritual mom. So my mom was more into like the new age kind of stuff, like hypnosis meditations and all kind of meditation. My dad was always Zen, but my dad wasn't only person that would practice Zen meditation. He is the director, the monk of the community in my city, in my country. So growing up, I hear this story always that he started his temple right the same year I was born. So my whole life they were divorced. So when I would spend weekends with my dad, it was at his temple. So it's part of who I am. And what I'm realizing now is that, well, I mean, I've been reflecting about it a lot, especially during the time that I started exploring with my spirituality. But what I'm realizing now is that because it was there, it was my lifestyle, you know. So it was kind of normal for me, you know. I've been saying that it was almost like the landscape. It's there, you know, it's part of who I am, part of who I was. So understanding these concepts, I never had to learn the concepts. They were just part of my life. So I'm talking about this concept that I've been hearing a lot recently, and I hear it my whole life, but it's been very present these days, and is the idea of a spiritual awakening. And to be honest, I thought it was bullshit my whole life. I was like, oh my God, like, what do you mean awakening? Like, you get up from a bed and then you're awake? And maybe the energy I would get from people that said that they were going through a spiritual awakening, it was almost like, oh my God, I'm this divine being that was selected to be special and different. I feel like those concepts I learned from Joe Dispenza. He explains a little bit about this. I share the feeling that he shares, and he says that when we talk about religion and we talk about these very specific spiritual concepts, you start creating separation with people, you know, like chakras. He talks specifically about chakras. Like, in the moment you say chakras, people are gonna associate that with someone being hippie, you know. So you're like, whatever you're gonna say, I'm not gonna believe you, I'm not gonna trust you, that's bullshit, you know. I feel like it's part of the nature of human beings to want to learn from things that are scientifically proved or tangible things, you know. Like when we talk about these concepts, people are start like, well, sure, I don't see it. I need to see to believe. Anyway, so I feel like because it's time. I'm kidding. No, it's just so many years that we have been hearing this concept, that they have been around, and I think it's almost, I keep saying that after the pandemic did a lot of different things. From my experience, from my perspective, I think it opened up the window for a lot of people to start being a little healthier, to start meditating, to start doing therapy, you know. Like, I think in spirituality they say that it was a big moment for the collective consciousness. Like, there were a lot of people sitting down to meditate. That's a fact, you know. I'm sure we all know that. Of course, there was a lot of painful things going on, but at the same time we all were quiet, relearning how to do our lives and our dates. And a lot of what we started doing in those new days, new lifestyle, was taking care of ourselves, right? So exercising more, maybe meditating. Anyway, so I just want to bring that up because I feel that there's way more people talking about breath work, meditation, the benefits, I keep seeing on Instagram, on social media, influencers experimenting with different, I don't know, ayahuasca and all these things. It's just like way more common now. So that's what I'm saying. It's time. I mean, we all have a, it's always gonna be different for everyone when we start getting curious about these things. What I want to say is that I feel like for many years in my experience, and I'm sure that for a lot of people it's the case as well, in a spiritual awakening, chakras, meditating, spirituality felt like something, like it was hard to relate to those concepts, but it's been around now for a while. People keep talking about meditating and the benefits about meditating. I want to share a little context where I'm coming from. I'm inspired to share what's happening to me because I'm not special. I'm not different than anyone. Like, I just happened to grow up with a Zen monk dad. But even though I wasn't meditating, my dad had his temple, and he never, I think I hear him many times saying, being very firm in his decision of, my daughters will decide when they want to explore this lifestyle and what I do. He never forced us. He never made us believe what he was doing or trying what he was doing. It was only until I was 18, and now that I am older, part of why, when I was 18, I decided to go to the temple in the capital of my country for a month. And of course, at 18 years old, everything is a new experience. And I did have a genuine interest in learning about, in going there. It felt amazing, right? But a part of me, now that I'm in my 30s, I know I was also doing it to please my dad because I was a bold, rebellious kid. So, you know, like, well, I want my dad to like me. Anyway, I'm not gonna get too distracted with this story. But yeah, it was only until I was older that I started getting close to the Zen meditation. And it was never my thing. I have a lot of respect whenever I go into a temple and I sit down in the posture they sit down to meditate. It feels really good in my body. It feels very sacred. Like it just runs in my veins, you know. It's part of who I am. So it feels really good, but it's not the meditation I like to meditate. It wasn't my thing, you know. So I just want to tell you that even though I have a Zen monk dad, it's not like I've been part of his, I've been following everything that he has done in his life. I've been exposed. So that, I think, makes it a little bit more, I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but I'm not different than you. That's what I want to say, you know. You can access to this information, this knowledge, these teachings. There are books, and I'm happy if you're curious, just let me know. I can share whatever you would like to learn about my lifestyle with the things that I have learned. Happy to share everything. So, and the thing is, like, I decided to go to school for graphic design and arts, which is kind of far from the Zen lifestyle, you know. It's like a very materialistic lifestyle, so it was kind of opposite. My entire life I wanted to build things, and my purpose in life was creating things that people were going to consume, which is very different than the Zen mentality, right? So in my own journey, I think it was only until I started practicing yoga that I was like, okay, I see it. It feels very familiar for me to do this kind of practice, and my body responds very well to all the teachings. Like, it feels like I know all these things. But even though yoga is different than Zen meditation, right? And if you know what core power is, they have studios in most of the cities around the country, and it's a party, you know. It's a house music, that's one of the reasons why I started going to Core Power, because they had music and mirrors. So I can look at myself and exercise and sweat. I mean, love Core Power is the best. But it's not the most traditional yoga. That's what I wanted to say. And yeah, my lifestyle has been that, like entrepreneur, business kind of, oriented mentality, and graphic designer, house music shows, DJs. That is far away from spirituality and especially Zen lifestyle. And so my mom, I was saying also that she was the one introducing me to Reiki, and since I was very little. So, and because it's your mom, like we all have different relationships with our parents, but I think for me it was kind of like, oh God, here she comes again with her visualization. Like she used to say that she, would see ovnis and things like that. And I think for me it was almost like I didn't believe in a spiritual. So I would hear about chakras and spiritual awakening, I was like, bullshit, like that's just people telling crazy stories. And look where I am right now, look at me right now. So the thing is that in my own journey, practicing yoga, finding my own way to meditate, and working on myself. What is working on yourself? Changing the things that you realize at some point in your life that are not taking you in the direction you want to go, right? So I've been sharing on my videos, like one of the biggest behaviors I've been changing recently in my career as an entrepreneur and as a creative is being a perfectionist, right? People pleasing. I've been a massive people pleasing, and like changing that, it's kind of hard. It's a lot of hard work. Like that was stopping me from being my authentic self, right? So that of course wasn't taking me in the direction of getting to the places I want to get, starting a business, like in many areas in my life. So the way you work on yourself, the way you create these changes in your life, yes, meditation and breath work and spirituality is one road, but it's not the only way to get there. If you look around in your group of friends, like there is a lot of amazing people that do super great, that you feel like they are empowered and very free. And some of those people have never done any kind of meditation. They're just present. They're very present. But what happens is that some of us learn different things in childhood and through experiences in life where we are in our heads, we are not present. Being present is being in your body, just to give you a little understanding. When you are present, you are fully connected in your body, in your whole senses. 5 senses, right? Yeah, you're there. Not being present is being in your head, thinking, overthinking, predicting, going the past. So yeah, not embarrassed to say that that's been me. And when you're a people pleasing, when you are interacting with people, what's happening in your body is that you are in your mind predicting what the other person wants you to do and say, how you can make the other person comfortable the whole time, how to make sure that everyone is comfortable, right? And that's a lot of thinking. You're not in your body, right? So there are different forms for people to not be in their bodies. That was my case, right? So I'm sharing a lot of things here, but I think it's important that you understand how I got here. And by working on myself, changing these behaviors, I started being more present in my body. And on my videos, I share the different things I've been doing. Of course, if you have more questions, specific questions, feel always free to ask below or reach out to me directly to my email. So I started creating a lot of awareness, right? And it's been, I think now 3-4 months that I'm doing my practices. Yeah, I decided that I wanted to do breath work, and you don't have to do, for my body, for my personality. I have a lot of fun doing breath work. I've been doing the breath work from Joe Dispenza. So the breath work with Joe Dispenza, I think it's a big piece in this discovery and this realization I'm having at the moment, because Joe Dispenza, as I was saying earlier, he didn't want to use the term chakras. He was like, no, that's going to create a lot of separation with people. I have another way to describe them. And they describe them as, they describe the chakras as energy centers, right? And still, the beginning for me was like, where are they? I don't see them. What do you mean energy centers? But it's for me 2 years now that I've been practicing the breath work. And that's the thing, the same thing as when you practice any sport. At the beginning, when you're running, you have not idea what you're doing with your body. After 2 years of running, you know exactly what muscles you're using, what muscles are getting tired, what food you need, you know everything. So the same thing with meditation and this breath work technique, specifically this technique, because the thing that you do with this breath work is that you breathe in, and when you're breathing in, you're bringing energy that you're not seeing. But after 2 years of practicing, you start feeling it. You're bringing energy from the bottom of your body to the top of your head. And for example, this week it was very funny because that's the Kundalini breath work, or Kundalini breath, I think is the name. Again, I'm not super familiar with all these terms from spirituality. I'm opening up to these terms now because I'm like, it's just semantics. It's just different ways to name things. And unfortunately, these spiritual terms create separation and make people don't want to explore and learn about it. But we all have other versions of exploring and experiencing these same terms. So the Kundalini breath, or the breath work from Joe Dispenza, what it does is that once you start working with the energy, you start bringing the energy to your brain, to your pineal gland, which is part in the back of your head. It releases energy. And I'm not gonna get too deep into that because I don't know all the names or the terminology, but when the energy hits that spot, you release more energy. I was sharing the things that I do. So I do the breath work and I do the meditation, and because it's been a while now that I've been doing it every single day, and I have the intention of changing behaviors and beliefs and thoughts and emotions, right? I'm every day, and it sounds like I'm doing a lot of work, but it's honestly, once you write down the things that you want to do, you're just aware, present during the day. And you just, the same way if you're stopping smoking cigarettes or drinking alcohol, you're just aware, next time you go out with your friends, you're like, I'm not drinking alcohol. And at first it feels uncomfortable, you know what to say, but the more you do, you're just like, yeah, Mel doesn't drink. People already, they don't even offer you drinks because they know you don't drink alcohol. So it's the same thing. It doesn't feel a lot of work for me. Honestly, it feels really good, and I feel so freaking proud of myself. And I've been sharing also on all my videos the practices that I do. I have now an amazing practice that I love, and it's celebrating myself. Like gratitude, transform, and a practice of celebrating myself for all the amazing things that I do, because I get to experience life now in an amazing, wonderful way. So it doesn't feel like work. It feels exciting, to know that you're changing and you are becoming the person you want to be. And not only that, becoming that person that you want to be, which is a more aware and present person, allows you to start experiencing these things that I'm going to be talking about now the spiritual awakening people talk about. So in a spiritual awakening, I'm going also probably to Google it and add the screenshot of what Google says, but spiritual awakening is just becoming aware. Becoming aware. That's what it is. I thought for many years, I think, that in a spiritual awakening meant that, yeah, you were just walking on clouds, or you were on mushrooms on a mushroom strip. But no, it's just becoming aware. And then there are layers, as you can imagine, and levels of that. You know, the more aware, the more present you are in your body, the more in your senses you are. Obviously, you can start sensing other things. And I'm glad that I brought up the mushrooms trip, because if you have that mushrooms, and I think mushrooms are legal now, so I can say go do some mushrooms. Just be careful, of course, and read and prepare yourself before you do it. But we know that we access to other states in spirituality. They say other states of consciousness. I will have to use that term because I don't know yet how to translate these terms to normal terms. I feel like, again, they just make you feel like that's just like a creepy, weird, hippie thing, you know? But conscious states, like, you know? I know you know. So the thing is that when you are on drugs, Molly, LSD, mushrooms, you can access to these other states where you get to have visualizations. And you know what I'm talking about. Go watch other videos if you know how I've done it. You don't have to do drugs, so obviously you can watch other videos and you will understand, you know, what happens to your nervous system, what happens to your body, and what you experience. And this is the thing. This is why I'm recording this video, because you have heard these too also many times in your life. You don't need drugs to access to those states. I honestly thought that it was I was like, sure, you don't need drugs to access to those states, but then how you can access to those states? I just explained you how. And it hasn't been 10 years that I've been in a monastery in India or Nepal, who knows where, meditating. No. I've been a freaking normal human doing normal things, going to shows, going to parties, doing normal life. So what I'm experiencing is that I'm accessing to other states. I'm realizing now that I've been experiencing these things for a while and I just didn't know what they were. So again, feel free to reach out if you have been experiencing some of these things, because it's super cool to know that we already have access to them. Because in the moment you realize you have access to these things, now is the amazing opportunity to explore deeper, right? To create way more awareness and more connection with this precious ability we have. So some people say that they hear other voices or they have visualizations. I have only, and now I'm like, it's so beautiful. One of my biggest loves in my life, it was a beautiful relationship. Yeah, I think it was my biggest love of my life. So I'm just sharing that part because I think that helped me to have the visualization I had. I have only had, I think, twice massive visualizations, and it was a very beautiful one. We were together and I was he lives in another city, and it was at the end of our weekend. I was going to come back to my city, and I was kind of like laying down on his shoulder, experiencing all the love and all the sweet things in a couple. And I was with my eyes open, and I had this incredible, amazing visualization of a tree from one of the places I grew up in my country. I not only saw the tree in a beautiful sunset, I felt the warm air of that area in my city. it was a whole body experience, and he was there, and I was able to tell him right away, and I think he almost like, he didn't see it, but he felt the intensity of what I was experiencing. So I'm not, sharing this to, again, to say I'm special, I'm different than you. No, my whole intention of sharing this is that we all have access to these things, and it's so magical, and it's so wonderful to know that there's more in this life. There's more we can get to experience, and it only takes, I'm talking about 3 months of being consistent and committed to my practices. Yes, I have done a few other years of work on myself, and I have been exposed to things, but I don't have a crazy story that's something that it's impossible for other people to replicate, and again, I'm here to share everything I know, everything I have done with you. Please feel free to reach out. So this visualization was a while ago, and I have to say that I was, again, when I'm sharing a story, it's like I go in many different directions, but I know some people hear voices. I don't hear other voices different than mine. But there's been many times where I have this genuine intention of talking about a subject with people, and recently it became very often that I talk about this subject, again, without any intention, and especially because I've been so present. I've been in my practice, in my personal practice, meditating and being present. What I do is that I try to not go in the past, and I don't go in the future, predicting what could happen. Like whenever I'm starting to feel like I want to know what's going to happen, I bring back the attention to the present moment, So I've been spending a lot of time here. So when I say genuinely I wanted to talk about something, it was something that I felt in that moment that I wanted to, talk with the person. So I'm behind these conversations where I talk about things, and 2 weeks later or a day later, that thing happens. And when the thing happens, I have a body thing that I'm like, shit, I was just talking about this thing. And it's nothing bad. Sometimes it's very simple things. Very simple things that I'm like, okay, it's just special, And now I'm like, okay, I want to be more aware. I want to know where this can take me. And I want to say, like, all these experiences, all these other, I don't even know how to call them. I know there are terms in spirituality, but all these other states we can access, in my personal experience, it feels from a very peaceful place. I never feel like fear, or the stories I'm talking about with other people, it's never about anything negative. Again, I've been very intentionally harvesting the garden in my mind, and the new life I want to live. So a lot of the things in my life are just like coming from a place of a lot of love and gratitude and appreciation. So it's nothing to be scared of. And so yeah, I'm just like, it is amazing. So what else could happen if I keep paying attention to this ability of, I don't know if this is predicting the future or just having visualizations, knowing what's going to happen. It feels kind of nice. It feels kind of cool. And again, I feel like I'm just stepping into a new thing. I know there's way more. And you can too. If you want to learn more about, again, everything that I've been sharing on this video, my practices, anything that call your attention, feel free to reach out. I'm here to share everything I know. And thanks for watching. Peace and love. I hope to continue seeing you on my videos. All right, take care.